sure exactly. It should start shipping soon, and you'll be getting it. And it's got a lot of really cool content on it. Some more additional stuff, but including all the creature content that we've been releasing and that kind of stuff. So this is a hypervoxel nebula that I did. I was working on a project last year called Race to Witch Mountain with Rock. Did you see that? Yeah. So I was brought in to do the nebulas and the space stuff in that, and I was using hypervoxels a lot. And I was looking at the Hubble Space Telescope imagery, and hypervoxels allowed me to nail it. They were sitting there with other people trying to work in other things, Houdini and Maya and this kind of stuff, and hypervoxels was so cool. But the problem was, it took me a little while to render those things. Yeah. So, and it's not real interactive as an artist because you kind of have to. Get it looking good in the still, and then But with the VPR, it just if I had that a year ago, it would have been so easier on that project. So I'm very happy about that. So we've also implemented some really cool workflow things for the VPR to make it useful to the artist, because it's not just something that you want to turn on and leave. Vbr Options Panel is really cool, and the thinking on this was when you're working interactively in a scene and you get some kind of iterative change to the car color or to the specularity on this creature, for example, or whatever, you're sitting with an art director or your supervisor, or you want to send something to them, why not just have integrated right into the interface a little snapshot button so you can save that stuff out iteratively as you're working. And this is the first step towards, it's not just putting the feature in there, but thinking how could artists use it in a way that's really useful to them so that they could have something from this. And so we default it to your desktop. It saves the thumbnails, whatever you want to capture from the display in the VPR at any moment in time. You snap that snapshot and it saves those stills to your desktop and names them based on the frame that you're on and how many times. It's iterative. So if you say frame 11 10 times, it'll be frame 11 1 through 10, that kind of thing. So we try to think of organizational ways. It also has control for a draft mode. This is an early version of the interface we were working on. It doesn't have it in there, but there's a draft mode, and I'll show you that. You can turn on volume shadows or volumetrics because it has full support for hypervoxels, for example, volumetric lights, third-party volumetric plugins even, and our hair and fur shader. And so that's pretty cool. And all that stuff is right in the interface and easy to change. The render frames per second, if you're on a slower system that's not capable of full out, you can dial those numbers down for the frame rate. Because that controls how much it is going to refresh, how much it's going to update. So if you're trying to update at 30 frames a second on a system that can't handle that, you may have some issues. So you just dial it down to 20 or 15 until you get something nice, and you don't have an issue. Let's see. Okay, so let's try to get out of this and go to the program.
Hate that as virus.
I hope not. It's a new installation. Vbr is always talking about stuff like that. But it's saving you so far. So. Okay. So this is some of the content. This is going to come on the content CD. This is the Piranha alien that was designed by Lino Grande and rigged by him. And the DVD that we're working on now is going to go over the details of this rigging. Because one of the long-standing things that people have said is LightWave, you can't rig in LightWave. Well, we'll see, because Lino's doing this DVD, and you're going to see how amazing it is to set up things. So we've got, this is an OpenGL representation. Welcome. And we're just getting started, so grab a seat or whatever. So this is the OpenGL representation that we're used to. We turn on the VPR. Again, one of the things I want to mention is I'm working on a 3-year-old Core 2 Duo mid-level. So it doesn't have any special graphics card. It doesn't have anything, super unique. So you can see if I wanted to change my render rate, it looks like 20 is going to do okay here, I believe. And here's where you have everything integrated, where you can save the VPR image options, you can go draft mode, you can have resolution if you want to speed that up even more. But you can see how fast that's integrated. And I wish those red pixels were on the screen because I'm not getting that at all. And it's
We believe it.
What's that?
We believe it.
I think the red pixels are from that DVI extender that I plugged in. it's DVI doesn't like a whole lot of connection. I think that's what's.
Well, I can't just split my laptop. You can come around and look because it's silky, smooth, beautiful right here on this old laptop. I just love it. So you can see what it's iterating based on the processor speed and the GPU because we're using hybrid technology to do what we're doing in the VBR. So it doesn't take you long on this. This is nothing special. There's no big powerful graphics card, but look at how fast that iterates. And also you can turn on, because it's hybrid, you can turn on OpenGL overlay. So if you want to see your OpenGL representations of the camera and the lights and all that stuff in your scenes, and you want to select something, you basically can do that, and you're moving it around, you're seeing the light update, see? So it iterates based on my processor. So when I had an i7 MacBook Pro, and it just means that the pixelation that's happening is smaller and goes way quicker. So the great thing about the technology we've implemented is, by default, if we did nothing more to it.
Wow, looks better, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Included with every new version.
I present LightWave 11. So the thing that's cool about it is, even if we did nothing more to the technology, just by the nature of the advancement of the hardware and GPU as well, it's going to be super fast, as we move forward, because it takes advantage of whatever you have. So, and it can scale. So you can see this is, seriously, a 3-year-old laptop, you probably get this on Craigslist for $800 now. I don't know. This is, I love it, but it's not the greatest thing. It's not the newest thing. We're back with the pixels on now. So you can, see the rigging, superimposed over it. You can turn on and off as you want to. And if you get something that you want, you simply just hit the thumbnail button there, and it will save whatever you like to your desktop. So, if we like this, it's still iterating. You can see it's going to actively refine until it gets to, Dave, welcome. Hi, guys. So, once you get something you like, you may want to make a change to it or whatever, you hit the snapshot button, and you look on your desktop, and it's going to be sitting there. See the guy right there? There he is. Okay. So it's all named properly and all that, and set up in a way that allows you to, use the tool in a great way. And I think the interesting thing about the VPR is, if you want to limit. Oh, I'll show you something else that I forgot to show you in that one, but I'll show you the next one. Let me just start loading the next scene. But the cool thing about the VPR is it is in the viewport. So it's not something that's in some little window somewhere, but you're actually working in this space. And my whole philosophy and my theory is that we all want that anyway. When you look at the advancements of things like ZBrush, which I love, the reason why ZBrush resonated so much and made people take notice is because it moved us one step closer to actual sculpting. And it's how you work with things in the real world. So how do we work with lighting as filmmakers? We grab the light and we move it around, and we change the barn doors, and we pump the, we change the values of the light, and we see it interact with us. So that's the really cool thing about an artist working with tools, is that you want to see that feedback so you can make creative choices. This is one of the nebulas that I was working with on the show, and you can see all of the different point lights and all those kinds of things in this. But if I turn on VPR, you can see how fast the representation of that volumetric hypervoxel cloud is. And I think, when I was trying to render this to match the Hubble Space Telescope, when I was on the production, it took forever, to get these out. And I think, pretty quickly you're seeing something iterate there that, is starting to, look nice. And it allows you, an artist, to play with those hypervoxel settings. So actually now, hypervoxels has gotten like a pump in the arm because it's so fun to play with now. You can grab the presets and put them on there and see all the stuff. You can just throw a null in there, move around it volumetrically, and really see this kind of stuff in a way that you never were able to before. Like, what does the nebula look like from behind? There you go. To render that before, I wouldn't have even bothered because it would take too long, and I just, I wouldn't have had that opportunity. So it's really a great new cool feature that we're definitely excited about the implementation of volumetrics. Now, this is a sprite-based volume cloud. So, you're thinking, okay, well, he just set that up to cheat. He's just, he's not going to show us any real volumes. Well, that's not true. We don't play that way. So here's the thing. This is how we used to have to work with particles and volumetrics and volume lights and all that in OpenGL, and then you'd render and you'd do your whole thing. But that was pretty much our feedback that we got. Well, this is a true volume now, with shadows and all that. And I turn it on, and I'm moving around volumetric lights, multi-layered volumetric lights, layered on top of each other, with volumetric shadows, volume shadows on that smoke cloud, and casting onto the ground plane, as you see there. But layered on top of, it was always a problem when you zoomed in close on hypervoxels, or you multi-layered volumes on top of volumes. It became really slow. Like you just go home and watch the Smurfs and come back or something like that. So, this is a great, even if it doesn't iterate instantly on this older laptop, for example, on i7, this kind of resolves like boom, 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 and you're there. It's another generation, 3 years newer than this hardware. But I thought it was important to show you on this because, if you see it on this and I'm demoing to you, and I'm comfortable to demo to you on this old piece of junk, essentially, then, probably the systems that you guys have are going to be better than this. But you see how fast it iterated, and that's a really beautiful looking volume, and you've got the shadows and all that. Well, the cool thing about it for me is that you would never be able to do something like this. Move out and see multiple levels of volume clouds layered on top of each other, all casting shadows with multiple volume lights all on top of each other, in any interactive form at all. Like you'd never be able to, do this in a timely fashion as an artist and experiment with it before, because you'd have to drop it to a render farm and wait for it to render. And now it is pixelating pretty large because it's just pulling a lot of stuff there. It's pulling multiple levels of volumetrics, multiple volumetric lights. It's self-shadowing on the volumes. And it's also casting the shadows, ray trace shadows, onto each other and the ground plane, all in the interface. So, but you see how quickly it does resolve there until you get something pretty interesting. So this is a really cool advancement for artists that want to work with volumes, and you're going to see advancements in hair and fur coming with this kind of technology, all of that, because we want to work in real time and see these things in the way that they would in the real world. So that's the cool thing about that. Anybody played with the volumetric features and hypervoxels and all that? Yeah. So that's it's a really it's one of my favorite new features or supported features of VBR. This is a scene with a car that I'm going to. Oh, let me try that. What I should do is I need to plug in my little device here, so I should have done that before I have to restart LightWave. If you plug this in, you don't want to plug it in while LightWave is running in the current scene because you're going to run into issues that way. So just see here. I'm smart because I only have 2 USB ports. I'll pull my dongle after I start. So you guys know that secret. Tell me you're running a studio and you have 1 dongle you're running. Okay. So we're in here, and you see it's adding the USB input device, hopefully. And there we go. So we're in there, we're moving around already in the scene. So if I load the current scene that I was just loading, recent scenes, this one. And, the fun thing about this kind of interactive stuff is that if you make it simple enough, the way that you experience a set, if you're doing a set or an environment, or the way when you have a client come in, you're trying to show them something, they respond more to this kind of thing than they do leaning over some artist's desk with a mouse. No, go left, go right. They can actually grab the knob once you get comfortable showing them, and they can move through the scenes and stuff themselves. So see, I just plugged this in. This is default. I didn't make any settings to show this to you guys or tweak it or set it up. It's really easy to go and sit in the car and see what it would look like if you're doing a commercial. What does it look like from the actor setting? I don't know. That's what it looks like. You can play, you can float through the scene. It's got several different modes. You can go from first-person walker to fly through. You can control the timeline. You can actually map this controller to control the car or control lights. You can move lights around with this. This is just the first implementation. We try to think about really cool ways. Oh, the other cool thing I want to show you is, okay, so here's how, when James Cameron comes in the room, this is how I want to show you this thing, right?